Imagine you are just finishing your yoga teacher training, excited teaching your very first class, and you step into the room and what you see is a bunch of beginners and a bunch of yogis who have done yoga for a long time, and you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do today? So when I was a junior teacher, when I just started teaching the very first year, I often had that feeling, once I have taught my students everything they need to know, everything I learned, what's going to be next? So you see, I was a long way from being a competent yoga teacher, because over the years I understood how you take your students deeper over time. So in this video, we are going to look at the difference between teaching beginners and teaching intermediate students. And I'm not even talking about any advanced yoga practitioners, because I myself, I don't call myself advanced. So we need to practice a lot in order to be advanced. But beginners and intermediate students, they have a quality, and that is, how do they receive message? How do they receive instructions? What are they able to take in? And with my model, I'm going to show you on some examples how this will look like. How it looks like what I say to a beginner, and how it looks like what I say to an intermediate student. So come on and let's have a look. Today I'm here again with Salla. Hi Salla. And if you like more of those videos, if you like what we're doing, please subscribe to the channel. So now we are going to look at a pose which is called Marjarasana, very simple, done in almost all yoga classes. And the difference between teaching it to the beginner and to the intermediate student is this. For the beginner student, I will keep it very simple, so you have to listen. I'm going to say the very basics, and then when I talk to her as an intermediate student, then I'm going to give her refined instructions. So if you are yourself an intermediate student, you will hear that. If you're a beginner, you may feel like, oh my God, this is just too much instructions. So let's go. So now Salla, come onto your hands and knees. So we always look, and this doesn't matter if it's beginner or intermediate, that the shoulders are in line with the wrists, and then the hips are in line with the knees, so it's kind of like a tabletop. So since Salla is now a beginner, I'm going to give these very simple instructions. Press your hands down into the floor, press your legs down into the floor. On your next exhalation, round your back and lift the back to the ceiling, tuck your chin under. And on an inhalation, drop the spine down to the floor, open your chest and look up. On an exhalation, round again, lift your belly into the back, feel your spine. And on an inhalation, arch, opening your chest. One more time, exhaling, rounding, and inhaling to arch. And then come back to center, thank you. So this was number one. So now let's go and see how this sounds and how it also feels for the student. Because if you're the student, you're like, okay, what am I doing here? So now, setting up again in all fours. Now we're going to check the alignment, take them a little wider apart, just a touch, yeah. And then slightly back. Good. So now, I'm going to tell her, press the base of the palm and the finger mounts into the floor very strongly. And then press your knees and your shin bones all the way to the ankles down very strongly. Now engage the pit of the abdomen, pull it up towards your chest, inhale here. And as you exhale, lift your lower back up towards the ceiling, tuck your chin under, round your back. And then inhaling, drop your spine to the floor. Now open up the frontal armpits, open your chest. And then exhaling to round again. And now press more weight into the finger mounts and into the shin bones. On an inhalation, take more weight into the knees and into the base of the palm. And again, exhaling, rounding, shins and finger mounts. And then inhaling, arching, base of palm and knees with the inner elbows going forward. And then come back to center. So now let's continue with a pose called Virabhadrasana 1, which you know very well is the warrior one, and we start with the beginner's version. So now Salla, face the big side of the mat with your feet rooted down. Bring your hands into jumping position. Bend your knees on an inhalation, jump or step 1.4 meters apart and bring your hands onto your hips. And then turn your left foot in and the right leg out. So now turn the whole back leg that the heel lifts off the floor so that, oops, so both hips face to the small side of the mat, right? So both of the hips, we want to go there. And then slowly bend your right knee. So sometimes for beginners, I like to give them a little bit support under their heel so that they feel more stable. So now move your right knee slightly to the right so that it aligns with the big toe. And then move your left hip forward towards your right knee. With your hands on your hips, lift the bottom of the belly and open up your chest. Shoulder blades going down the back. And then again, inhaling, slowly come up. Turn your feet parallel and go to the other side. So now I'm going to turn her here. Bend the knee, align it with the second toe. Now we give a little bit of a support here, pressing the heel down. So you have to have the hip in line, the right hip in line with the left in this case. So move the right hip forward, lift your belly and open your chest. So the belly lift is very important because it protects the back. So all this you would tell a beginner. Inhaling, slowly come up. Turn your feet parallel, take your arms out to the sides and exhaling, jump or step your legs together. Good. So this is how I would take an intermediate student into the pose. So some may need the block, that's fine, but we're not going to use the block now. So again, bring your hands into jumping position. Bend your knees, inhaling, jump or step the legs wide apart. Again, start with the hands on the hips, just to adjust the legs. So now turn your left foot in and the right leg out. Turn the back leg and then see that you keep a little bit of an angle to make the heel go down, but at the same time move your left hip forward. Yes, so the inner left heel goes down, the left hip moves to the front. And then keep this alignment and then slowly move your inner thigh to the inner knee while bending the knee. So moving the inner thigh to the inner knee. And then from the outer knee, move back into the hip to deepen the groin. Yeah, so this is the front leg action, very important safety. Inner thigh forward, and then outer thigh back. Remember, for the beginner, I said just move the knee to the right. And then root down from the back inner heel, and move the left hip to the front. Take your arms out to the sides, turn the palms and lift them up above your head, crossing your thumbs. Spread your shoulder blades wide as you go up and back. Again, I'll remind my intermediate student, move the inner thigh still forward, bend the knee a little bit more, yeah, you're working hard here. Lift your belly strongly and then inhaling, slowly come up and turn to the other side. Right foot in, left leg out. So keep the back foot slightly turned, pressing the outer right heel down, and then move the right hip to the front. Slowly bend the knee by moving the inner left thigh out into the inner left knee. So here comes a U-turn, and then move the outer left knee back into the hip to deepen the groin. Move your right hip forward while rooting into the back heel. And then take your arms out to the sides, turn the palms and lift. Spreading your shoulder blades wide. So now the intermediate student is continuously working on that U-turn in the front leg to deepen the groin more. To press the outer heel down to move the right hip forward. And then spreading the shoulder blades to lift up, to fully engage in this pose and feel the warrior. Inhaling, slowly come up. Turn your feet. Exhaling, jump or step your legs together. Okay, so now the third and last example we're showing you is Pincha Mayurasana, how it's done for a beginner and then how it's done for an intermediate student. So let's begin. Place your hands, your forearms on the floor with the palms facing down. And then usually the beginners, I like to give them a block, and it really depends. If somebody, like for example, a man has wider shoulders, they would need a pad which is wider. Somebody who is like ladies, for example, this is quite good. So you want to thread your thumb, web it in between the index and the thumb so that the hands don't move together. And then press your forearms down. Move your shoulder blades apart, tuck the toes under, and then lift your knees off the floor. Step a little bit forward, look up, and then slowly move your shoulders back, spreading your shoulder blades. As you can see, she's very open. She's been doing this a lot, so it doesn't look like this in the beginner, but so you get the idea. So I will just tell them to move the sitting bones up, walk forward as far as they can go, and there breathe and hold. So the block will help for the stability. Thank you. So now for the intermediate student, we're going to do like this. Bring your forearms on the floor. Make sure that your elbows are under the shoulders. That's of course important for the beginners as well. So this time, turn the palms to face the ceiling. And then the flesh of the forearm will be on the inside because of the sticky mat, right? It's important to have a sticky mat for this. And then slowly turn your palms back, and that will pull the flesh of the forearm into the inside. So she will feel more stability. And because of that, now the inner wrist and the big toe mount, the index finger toe mount need to be pressed down really, really strongly. That's the stability. And then from there, tuck your toes under, lift your knees, spreading your shoulder blades apart with your head lifted, and then walk forward. And then move your shoulders back, spreading those shoulder blades, because it's all about strengthening the serratus. And if you want to know about the serratus, check out the video we've done on the downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. So now again, move a little bit more forward, spreading those shoulder blades, and the head lifted is important, otherwise it feels tense in the neck afterwards, even though it feels now maybe, oh, I would like to relax it. Yeah, so keep it active with your chin lifted, one more step forward. Good, see how intermediate students, they can go so much, she's soon ready to go up completely. And then slowly come down, come into Balasana for a moment and rest. So I hope you got the idea. With beginners, there's a few basic rules, and that's number one, never give them any options, because they don't know, right? If you tell them do this or this, they're gonna get really confused. The second part is keep it very simple. The simpler it is, the more it will enter to them, and the more they will be receptive to actually want to learn more. And number three is when you have beginners in class, and if you have only beginners in class, then never let them work with each other. So they have to first get to know themselves before they can start doing any partner work or something like that. So for intermediate students, they already know the basics. So what you need to do is you need to keep them interested, because they have heard the same instructions for so long. So they need to find something in their practice where they're like, oh my God, I never felt it this way. Right? When I said like press the inner wrist down, it's like, whoa, I didn't know that I could do that. So in the long run, your intermediate students, they will grow with you, and you will make your classes so much more interesting. So good luck with that. And a last end note is, when you have them both in class at the same time, like I mentioned in the beginning, then you have to find the middle way. Give your intermediate students enough so that they stay engaged and they want to come back, and then give your beginners little enough so that they are not feeling overwhelmed. I hope you're enjoying this video, and I see you in the next one. Thank you.